The EU Parliament has passed its first ever report calling for stronger ties with Taiwan.
The report's author, Swedish MEP Charlie Weimers, and German political scientist Reinhard Biedermann tells us why Taiwan is becoming more important to the EU and Germany.
Staś Butler also talks with Doublethink Lab's Min-hsuan about how Taiwan is fighting disinformation from China.
Finally, in Hashtag Taiwan, I'm going to tell you about a non-Taiwanese YouTuber who traveled 2,300 kilometers to spread Taiwanese culture. This is Taiwan Insider.
It's a historic moment. The EU Parliament's nearly 700 lawmakers in a landslide passed a report calling for closer ties with Taiwan. Here's the report's author, Charlie Weimers MEP, telling the Parliament why the EU should support Taiwan.
Taiwan is a like-minded partner with whom Europe shares many common values. In a region where this is not always a given, in light of Taiwan's robust democracy and technologically advanced economy, it is crucial that the EU and Taiwan pursue a comprehensive and enhanced partnership that underpins the rules-based order. The EU must, despite Chinese pressure, strongly advocate for Taiwan's meaningful participation as an observer in meetings, mechanisms, and activities of international bodies, including the World Health Organization.
Mr. Weimers told insider Staś Butler why the EU wants closer ties with Taiwan at this time.
Right now, we see a rise of Chinese belligerence, disinformation, and hostility against the West. And many of the like-minded democratic partners around the world, such as the EU, the US, Japan, South Korea, India, and Australia, have come to realize the urgent need to cooperate together in confronting the increasingly overt Chinese bullying. And given Taiwan's own difficult relationship with mainland China, including continuous Chinese belligerence against the island, Taiwan can serve as a very important example of how to withstand Chinese pressure, belligerence, and disinformation campaigns in both the Chinese-speaking world as well as in the English-speaking world, while standing strong on values such as freedom, democracy, and human dignity. And also, Taiwan has a very advanced, robust economy. It's an economy that holds a very strong position in the world economy, and it encapsulates the prototype for modernization, digitalization, and economic growth. I mean, not to forget that Taiwan has become a major player in the production of semiconductors, leading edge chips. So in its very own right, Taiwan is an important economic partner for the European Union.
Now, your report calls for increased official exchanges between the EU and Taiwan. What form do you see those exchanges taking?
Well, historically, the EU and many member states have been very careful to avoid any high-level exchanges with Taiwanese officials because of Chinese pressure. And my report fully disagrees with that. It believes that European leaders need to meet with their Taiwanese counterparts publicly and openly. We need to have meetings between our heads of states, our foreign ministers, as well as secretary generals and director generals of our various ministries and departments in member states, as well as in the European institutions.
The spokesman for Germany's leading party, the Social Democrats, also spoke out in favor of stronger ties for Taiwan this week. I asked German political scientist Reinhard Biedermann at Danzhong University if that signals a change in German policy towards Taiwan.
Social Democrats actually, they do not have made a very strong position concerning to protect or support Taiwan. There are other parties in the potential government, namely the Greens and the Liberals, that spoke much stronger out in favor of Taiwan. However, what I think is that overall the long-term foreign policy of Germany since some 30 years always has been the assumption of change through trade. And this change through trade assumption was supported by the Social Democrats, but also by the Conservatives. By the Social Democrats because it reminds us about the 1970s East politic, that when we do more trade with the Soviet Union and its allies, then this will lead to a change in the Soviet Union and in its behavior to the West. And the Conservatives always assume that change through trade is a very good, let's say, excuse for doing more business. So the two major big governmental parties in the last 30 years both supported change through trade. And I think that will change no matter which government will be in power after the conclusions are made. I think that the Social Democrats are particularly concerned about that we do not have change through trade, that the human rights situation in China is going in an opposite direction and not as the Social Democrats would like to see. And from a conservative position, the point is more that the economic relations between Europe, Germany and China are not developing in a way as they wish they should be. So from both bigger parties in the government, we have a new assessment of China. But we should not forget the smaller parties, especially the Liberals and the Greens, which have a stronger supporting role for Taiwan since a few years.
Well, I know you've been watching German-Taiwan ties closely. What do you see for upcoming German-Taiwan ties in, let's say, the coming year or so?
This is a very difficult question because there are too many variables we can hardly overlook right now. Everything depends on China, how China reacts, whether China is increasing its aggressions. So when China is increasing its aggressions, is more often sending airplanes into the Ardis and so on, then I think the German-European statements will become stronger. It is also possible in the middle run that, for instance, Germany and the European Union enact some sort of economic sanctions in some fields. I won't exclude it from right now. But for Germany, Taiwan is very important also from an economic perspective, of course. It's not only the trade balance we have. I think the EU and Taiwan trade between 50 and 60 billion euro per year. But it's also that Taiwan is very important in certain key sectors, especially when it comes to semiconductors. Our German car industries now, they do not have enough semiconductors anymore, so we urgently need semiconductors from Taiwan. So Taiwan is also geo-economically important for Germany and for the EU. And this, of course, also increases, let's say, the stakes for Germany and for the EU to support Taiwan stronger than in the past.
Taiwan faces constant pressure from China, and it's not just military pressure either. Even though Chinese warplane incursions into Taiwan's air defense identification zone are pretty commonplace, well, China sends a lot of disinformation Taiwan's way as well. Now, Staś Butler spoke with researcher Min-hsuan to find out what kind of threats Taiwan faces and how it's fighting back.
So Doublethink Lab conducts research on, in your own words, on these contemporary threats to democracy. What kind of contemporary threats to democracy is Taiwan facing at this moment in time?
The threat to the Taiwanese democracy that we're facing for all the time is basically the China government that is promoting another way of the governance and try to convince our Taiwanese people having another lifestyle or governance model. But with the new technology, there's a lot of misinformation or disinformation campaign that we've been seeing, observed in the past few years, try to influence our elections or influence our public opinions on certain topics. Basically, down to the word is that divide our society is the ultimate goal for their actions.
How is Taiwan fighting back against this kind of disinformation?
Fortunately, I think even though we've been seeing a lot of this type of disinformation, but fortunately, I think the resistance of the civil society of Taiwan is quite strong, and there's a lot of action being taken by the civil society organization like Taiwan Fact-Checking Center or other fact-checking community volunteers group, trying to do more. Not only the fact check, but how to disseminate those fact check results to the general public by using like messenger app, a chatbot, or just go directly to the community, organize volunteers group, having a lot of offline activities to do media literacy education, lots of things. So I think this whole disinformation or misinformation problem is really brought a lot of the civil society organization together to try to fight back.
I mean, I've spoken to representatives of European, particularly governments, and many of them look to Taiwan not only for its economic strength and for kind of key partnerships in specific industries, but also because they view it as a kind of sandbox, the kind of front line, if you like, against misinformation and disinformation campaigns, some of which originate in China. What lessons can other countries learn from Taiwan in fighting this kind of phenomenon?
I think the lesson we are still exploring right now from Taiwan is that a whole society approach. Not only the government, they can responsible to do the fact check, but also there's an independent fact checking initiative or organizations here to do their own work and work with some independent media or even mainstream media organization to publish those stuff. So I think the whole society approach is what we need, and we see that is also building up a resistance of the democracy and build a safeguard for our democracy.
Next up, Leslie looks at one YouTuber's mission to sell Taiwanese ice cream in Palau in #Taiwan.
This is Ku. He's a French YouTuber living in Taiwan. This is a peanut ice cream roll. It's a traditional Taiwanese dessert that consists of ice cream, cilantro, peanut brittle, rolled up in a flour wrap. Today's topic is at the cross-section of this French YouTuber and peanut ice cream rolls. What do I mean by that? Well, last Saturday, Ku uploaded a video to YouTube which is now receiving rave reviews. Last month, Ku ate 10,000 calories worth of Taro products to prove how much he loves, well, Taro. And then he made a donation to Taiwan's International Cooperation Development Fund, which is developing taro farms in Palau. Palau is a country in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's an archipelago consisting of over 500 islands, and it's one of Taiwan's diplomatic allies. In total, Ku donated 50,000 new Taiwan dollars to the ICDF, which is close to $1,800 US. As a show of gratitude, the ICDF invited Ku to visit Palau to check out the taro farms he helped support. Ku agreed to go, but he said he wanted to bring a piece of Taiwanese culture with him to share with the Palauans. Ku said he found out that Palau is hot and the people there like to eat ice cream, so he thought Taiwan's ice cream peanut rolls would be the best item to share with the Palauan people. Ku spent some time developing a recipe for taro ice cream to use in his rolls. Back in the day, and I mean like 50, 60 years ago, Taiwanese ice cream vendors rode around on bicycles. They'd honk their horns to let people know that they were nearby, and that's why, in Taiwan, ice cream is sometimes called bapu bapu because that's the sound an ice cream bike makes. Ku purchased a 60-year-old traditional ice cream bike, packed it up, and flew it with him to Palau. When he got there, Ku visited taro farms and using the local taro, he made his ice cream. Ku then unpacked his ice cream bike and hit the streets giving away peanut ice cream rolls in exchange for subscriptions to his YouTube channel. You know what? That sounds pretty smart. Maybe I should be trading ice cream for YouTube subs. Ku rode around Palau on an unwieldy antique bike with a big metal box filled with homemade ice cream in tow. He went to a Palauan Independence Day event and that's where his business took off. Unfortunately, his goods were no match for the hot tropical weather and his ice cream melted halfway through the event. At that point, he started giving away the ice cream on its own and not in a peanut roll format. While there, Ku ran into the French ambassador to Palau and asked her to try some Taiwanese ice cream. She seemed to really like it, but maybe she was just being diplomatic. But at the end of the video, Ku had a chance to have one last VIP try his ice cream, and that was Palau's vice president, and she seemed to really sincerely love the ice cream. So let's take a second to unpack here. A French YouTuber went to another country to spread Taiwanese culture. It's not hard to understand why this video is so popular in Taiwan. Ku's commitment to authenticity, from developing his own ice cream recipe to bringing with him an actual vintage ice cream bike, is just plain heartwarming. His actions would be equivalent to if I lived in France and traveled to, say, Greenland to spread French culture. Here's the thing though. There is no way that I know as much about French culture as Ku does about Taiwanese culture, and that alone is impressive enough.
Before we leave you, here's a look at some of the other news stories that are on our radar.
Police have arrested a Taiwanese YouTuber on suspicion of being behind a series of deepfake porn videos. The video showed the faces of over 100 celebrities and politicians superimposed over porn actors using AI technology. Investigators believe the man and two accomplices raked in over 11 million NT dollars, or 400,000 US dollars, by selling the videos online. Both President Tsai Ing-wen and Justice Minister Tsai Jing-xiang say they will work to amend the law so that it more adequately covers deepfake technology. The train driver responsible for the fatal derailment of a Puyuma Express train in 2018 has been sentenced to 4.5 years in prison for negligent homicide. The driver disabled a system that would have slowed the train automatically when it went over the speed limit. The train was moving at 66 kilometers per hour over the speed limit when it hit a curve in the tracks and derailed, killing 18 and injuring more than 200. The sentence can be appealed. This year's Taipei LGBT Pride Parade is set to be an entirely virtual affair. The organizers say they originally made plans to hold the event online earlier in the year, when Taiwan was in the midst of a COVID outbreak. They say the recent drop in cases has come too late to organize an in-person event. Still, the event, slated for October 30th, will have all the elements of the parades of years past, everything from forums discussing LGBT issues to drag shows.
And we're back in the studio with our final question of the day. And you guys saw my hashtag today. We saw how a French YouTuber went to Palau to spread Taiwanese culture. Yeah. Now I'd like to pose a question to you. If you were to go to another country, what would you take as a cultural symbol of Taiwan to share with the locals? Stash?
Well, I think my host country would be very grateful if I brought chips.
Ooh.
Particularly the semiconductor variety.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing as there's a shortage, I think
value.
I could get a really good rate, I think, of quite a few.
I was thinking potato chips, man. So yeah, I was all off. Natalie?
I would take bubble tea. I mean, who doesn't love bubble tea? It's fun and chewy and delicious.
Everybody loves some bubble tea. Why not? And what I would actually bring, well, some instant noodles. Because, you know.
Oh, that's a big deal in Taiwan.
When you travel, there's like a big embargo on like agricultural products, right? You can't really bring fruit, you can't really bring meat, and if you do, you got to declare it. But instant noodles, I think, are okay. And then Taiwan's got some pretty good flavors of instant noodles. They got like this really special one from the Taiwan Liquor Corporation, which is like chicken stewed in rice wine.
Oh wow!
And that's an instant noodle, right? And it's delicious.
Taiwan-style.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do.
You win some friends with that.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, we have a celebration today because we have over 10,000 YouTube subscribers.
That's right.
And we want to introduce you to our English team and celebrate a little bit. Come on the set, guys.
Come on, guys.
So our English team here is Emma.
This is Emma.
And that's Shirley and Thomas. And Vicky's going to bring our little celebration dessert.
We're also missing John. John's a little camera shy.
He's like hiding in the studio working hard.
Yeah.
But Vicky can come on.
Bring on the cake, Vicky.
This is in celebration.
Oh my God.
RTI English.
Oh,
you guys see?
cupcakes.
Oh wow.
And some of your favorite things, if you can
hold this on
recognize.
camera, if we can.
Favorite animals of people on our team and hobbies, etc.,
Natalie
etc.
knows I love dinosaurs. That dinosaur
That's
cupcake's
right,
mine.
that's
If
for
it's not, I call
you.
dibs.
So, favorite things of the English service. And if you haven't subscribed to RTI English, which is our YouTube channel name, please do subscribe.
Yeah.
We'd love for you to join us and subscribe and follow us.
That's right. You can follow us on Facebook as well, and also on our Twitter.
That's right. Our handle's Taiwan Insider. Send us a message. Send us some love. We'd love to hear from you. Anyway, guys, until next week. You know what? Let's try and hit 11,000 subscribers next week. Let's do that. And then I can get more cupcakes. All right? See you guys around.